Hello, welcome back for Devlog 2. This week I decided to dive pretty heavily into particle systems and went a little crazy with them. Might have had a little too much fun, but it's fine. I might have also been tapping into my pyromaniac because, of course, the first thing I built was fire. I'm actually super stoked with how this fire turned out. I honestly spent such a long time just tweaking the particles and trying to make it look perfect, and there's so many settings to choose from. Just to throw a couple examples out there, you can change things such as the particle's acceleration. You can also change the particle's rotation, and you can randomize the particle's rotation so they rotate differently. You can also adjust the particle's scale so they randomly appear and render at different size scales. And lastly, one of the cool things that I found is you can also make it look like it's being blown by wind. And I think this is actually going to be a very useful feature for when I work more with the air elemental's wind blast. Ultimately, though, with all of the experimentation, I learned a lot and I'm really happy with the look. I think I might actually keep this look moving forward. I just really enjoy the blocky look, and I think the only change that I'll make is just adding a texture to the particles themselves. But I mean, truly, look at this little guy. I mean, I'm just so genuinely excited just watching him burn. Look at him. It's just so cool. Of course, where there's fire, there must also be player death. So naturally, the air elemental can now catch fire. I'm sure you noticed I also added the same particles to the player when they're on fire. And since you can now die, I also quickly added this beautiful health bar here. I honestly don't know if I will keep it. I might eventually just have it be a screen effect to show the player dying. Something like the screen glowing a little red or something like that, just to indicate that you're getting close to death. But honestly, for now, it just works. And so I'm just going to keep it here for the moment. But of course, the fire isn't the only there to kill the player. With this being a puzzle game, the whole purpose is to have the environment be interactable. So the earth elemental is not only impervious to the fire, but can actually extinguish the fire, kind of like so. The projectiles will now serve as a nice and safe walking path for our air elemental, and it makes things a bit more dynamic, a bit more interesting with like platforms like this. So that way you have to somewhat aim the rocks to be able to jump up there safely. Since you can't jump up there with the earth elemental, you have to figure out a way to get rocks up there before you can get up there with the air elemental. Otherwise, you'll just burn to death. Of course, on the theme of interactable environments, I also added these giant columns of air, with particles, of course, that will now push the air elemental and allow the player to glide along them. This also works when they're on their side, and I can control the angle that the air is being pushed at, so I can have a little, like a hallway of air that also pushes the player back down. Add a little bit more interesting nuance to the environment. And of course, the earth elemental is unimpeded by this because he's too heavy. But yeah, I really like the effect that this has. It's genuinely starting to make the game feel a lot more fun just with these environment components. And I'm really excited for adding a bit more and adding more dynamic controls to the elements as well. I think I'll also add heated columns of air that will ideally light the player on fire, with the idea being that the player has to figure out some way to cool down the air before they try to traverse it. Either way, I really like the effects of both the fire and air at this point, and how much space there is for interactability. Naturally, of course, this led me to lava. And of course, I absolutely needed to use more particles for the lava because why not? Look how great it is. Yeah, it's not gonna be permanent. It works for now. It did cause me to go into a bit of a rabbit hole about simulating liquids, which I found some great videos from Sebastian Legge, link in the description. But I did quickly realize that is a little ridiculous to completely simulate fluids just for a puzzle game. I think ultimately what I'll do instead is I might do something with particles, but it'll likely just be like textures that change, just like Terraria. The only difficulty really is that the liquids are a bit of a challenge because it's like blocks, so I don't know if I'll have to handle it like blocks like Terraria or not, but either way, it works for now. It burns the earth elemental, which I thought was a necessary feature for just causing damage to the earth elemental. I feel like I want each elemental to have something that harms it. I think this is a good effect for that, but it also allows the air elemental to walk across it, which I thought was a pretty cool effect to add as well. Make it a little interesting. But yeah, overall, I made a huge amount of progress this week. It wasn't all just visual. I did a lot of back-end work as well, just making things a bit easier to work with in the code. I also made a custom broadcast system to make it easier to work with signals in Godot. I won't go into too much detail here, but basically I made the signal system for Godot a bit more flexible just because it's very restricted to having to be attached to nodes and connecting them. Those of you who have developed will know what I'm talking about. Let me know if you want a video on that. I'll happily dive into the code a bit more. It's just not really needed here. But overall, a lot of back-end work as well. Just a lot of back-end cleanup. So that'll be the goal for next week as well. Finish up back-end cleanup, but also just finish up these environmental prototypes. I really want to get a fully developed puzzle at this point, or a couple if possible. At this point, I'm really liking where the game's going. It's feeling a lot of fun, and it's great just to mess around with the stuff I've added. And I'm really wanting to get someone who hasn't touched it to look at it and give me their feedback on how it feels for them. Give them a basic tutorial and let them have at it for a couple puzzles, see if they can figure it out. And then move forward from there. See if once they have that figured out, then I will implement the other elements, the water and fire as well. But that's it for today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy what you see, go ahead and just tickle that subscribe button for me. It likes it a little bit, you know. And I'll see you guys next week.